Good morning.
So I've turned our recording on so I won't forget it as well. And I'll
Right.
post it to the website when we're done.
No worries. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day out in Kansas City. Hopefully, no rain is out there and
It's
the heat wave
marvelous
is
and it's
broken.
cool and everything. It's wonderful.
Great, great, great. Heat wave is broken, huh?
Yeah, it was 61 this morning earlier.
Ooh,
Whoa.
okay. Yeah, it's really broken. I was talking to my daughter in Texas yesterday, and she was saying, "Dad, it's 104 degrees here." So, and I know you left Texas, so for probably for that reason, right?
Absolutely.
Great. So we have a good presentation for today. We'll wait a few minutes and let some other folks join in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Great. So good morning, all. My name's Rob Farmer. I'm Senior Vice President for Capital Markets and Development for Urban America, and a principal in the firm. Anna McCoy, who's on, is going to help me keep my administrative activities straight. If you all joined a year ago or so, you'll remember an embarrassing moment of mine that I could not figure out this Zoom stuff. But knock on wood, we've figured it out, and we should have a productive meeting, hopefully without any glitches or flaws. We wanted to take the opportunity this morning to thank you all for joining us on this community meeting to keep you apprised of the work that we're doing on the 63rd and Prospect project. We are aggressively moving towards what we feel is going to be the start of that project finally after several years and COVID getting in the middle of it and having to redo some things from a zoning and an approval standpoint. We're rapidly getting to the point where the project is getting ready to start. So we did want to take this opportunity to thank the city, thank the council people, and most of all, the community for being patient in what I know seems like a very long process, but we are getting ready to get to the point where we're going to start this project. So what we wanted to do today was to just bring you all up to speed on the progress of the planning efforts, talk a little bit about some of the changes that have occurred since we last presented to the community, and then we'll talk about our next steps, timelines, and objectives, and then certainly we'll open up for a question and answer session. Just a few housekeeping notes. If you all can put yourselves on mute while I'm doing this presentation. Sometimes there's background noise and it can be a little distracting for everybody. And then if you have a question, once we get to the question and answer session, one of two things: you can either raise your hand and put a comment out there and we'll go ahead and answer that. Or as we actually get into the Q&A session, if you want to type your questions in to the chat, we can answer them that way as well. So what I'd like to do now is to bring up the presentation and begin at this point. So if you can bear with me for a moment. Now, this last time is where all the fun began and I had a problem. So hopefully this time we'll be able to navigate more fluidly and be able to upload. So just hold on for a moment, share all windows. There we are. And F5. All right, and we should have a screen up. Can everybody see the screen? All right, outstanding. Outstanding. So again, this is the Southpointe Development project update. We actually put this together a few weeks ago as it was sent out in the community updates to everybody. So I don't know if you all got a chance to receive this, but we do want to take you through the presentation and then talk through some of the points that are part of the Southpointe redevelopment efforts. So this project started several decades ago, and some of this may be a repeat of information that we've shared in the past, but for those that are relatively new, I wanted to make sure that we had kind of a reference point for starting. So this project commenced really back in the 1990s, late 90s, in an overall master development to redevelop this area, including the anchor of Health Corporation of America's Research Medical Center. And on this project map that you can see here, this redevelopment area was a much larger super TIF area that included what was then called Project Area G, which is what we are now calling Southtown at 63rd Street. But it included the areas around the hospital, south on Prospect Avenue, and then going further out west on 63rd Street. Most of these areas were done as part of the redevelopment, but for a lot of reasons, Project Area G was not activated, and it was the final project area. In late 2016, Urban America responded to an RFP put out by the city and were awarded the redevelopment efforts. We started our planning through this process and began very aggressively moving forward. And then February of 2020 hit and slowed everything down in terms of COVID and the worldwide economy and those kinds of things. So we sat that part out. We did not stop our pre-development efforts, but nobody was really moving with construction. And now that things have started to move forward, our project is picking up steam now as well. So just by reference, the 63rd and Prospect redevelopment area is really kind of highlighted in red here. Now, when I say highlighted, there are some areas that are not necessarily included here. So this is just a general boundary area. But this is the north area kind of looking southward. This being 63rd Street, here's Bruce Watkins Parkway. Here's Prospect Avenue. If you were to come this way, you would be going north into downtown Kansas City and south down towards the south area. So the project area is pretty broad here. It goes all the way over to Daniel Boone Park on this side and really to the eastern side of Prospect, just north of the gas station here and coming all the way up really to 61st Street. So these, again, are broad areas, not specific, but in general, this is kind of the project area that we have. So in 2019, in August, we went through a design charrette process with the community. And with the community's input through a series of meetings, we developed this general community plan for the project area. And I'll go through this because there have been some modifications to this, but we've generally kept with the integrity of this project, which was really the community's efforts here. Along 63rd Street, the plan at that time was to do 3-story buildings here in purple. And in orange, this was a 4-story building with ground floor retail to activate 63rd Street. And then on the top floors here would be kind of some office and medical office to complement what was going on primarily with research hospital, but in general to help to activate this community so that you have this as what we call a live, work, play area, which includes areas not only for residents to move into, but putting up apartment buildings and new housing without having the amenities, the services, the ability to buy groceries really does not make for a well-planned community redevelopment. And with this area being as large as it is, we felt that we needed to make sure that we had all of the core real estate food groups represented here, and office over retail is what we were looking at here at 63rd Street. This green building represented a new grocery store that was planned in this project. The red area was what we called larger box retail and entertainment retail. The Canary building here was multifamily. Just north of the multifamily would be self-storage, so that as folks were moving into the area, we could maximize the amount of apartment units without having a lot of storage area inside that building. So we would naturally have those two complement each other. And then in the turquoise across the street was primarily going to be retail, restaurant areas and rooftop dining and those kinds of things, and then the repositioning of the gas station. So that was the plan that we collectively, the community and urban America, developed in 2019. In 2022, post-pandemic, this plan was tweaked a little bit. And this is what we had presented back in April to the community of April of 2022, which had revised this a bit. At that time, we were in negotiations with a single user for this building here. And so instead of us having 3 buildings, we were combining this building into a single building here. Originally, this was to be a hotel on this side and office over retail in this building, but the single user at that time wanted to combine everything. So we had a dilemma. We knew that there was still a need for a hotel in the marketplace. So we determined that in conjunction with our co-development partner of the hotel, that it would make sense to move the hotel onto the east side of Prospect here for a couple of reasons. Number one, it freed up this parcel, but it also allowed for the hotel to get visibility from Bruce Watkins Parkway, which was important because the hotel in this area and in this community will be there to service not only the hospital, which is one of the main drivers for an extended stay hotel, but you all have such wonderful assets in that community that are accessible through Bruce Watkins Parkway, be it the zoo, the amphitheater, the soccer stadiums on that side, again, all east of Prospect, some of the commercial activities that are happening west of 63rd Street. So we felt that having that visibility to the highway will help folks to understand that there is a hotel in that area. And it also then sets up right across the street from the multifamily area. And so we can go ahead and take advantages of some of the street redevelopment at one time there. So that was kind of the tweak and the adjustment to the plan on that side in 2022. And here is the most current plan. And you can see the tweaks between the two, between 2022 and 2023 are really in this Canary area for the multifamily. And really here's what's driving that. As we've done some of the soil testing in the area, we've hit some limestone in the area for the multifamily. We pulled about 38 soil borings for the entire project, and we ran into shallow soil on this area here. That caused us to reconfigure how this multifamily would happen. So in 2022, the way that this was configured allowed for 240 apartment units in an overall apartment configuration this way. In 2023, we're still doing 240 units. But now what we're doing is 18 of those units will be in a townhome configuration here, which we'll show in a moment. And then the other remaining 222 units will still be apartments, but they'll be in a separate building here. And then we've put the field of parking in between these two buildings, and then it still wraps around. And again, that was primarily to accommodate the soil conditions. So we're still looking to do 240 units in the marketplace. just with a different configuration. Everything else effectively stays the same. So that's kind of what we're presenting here in 2023. It's really going to focus on how we've adjusted that apartment building. So the entire area will also annex about 5.5 acres of land, and we're doing that in conjunction with the TIF Commission and the city of Kansas City. This area here is really steep. There's about a 60-foot drop off between the plateau here on 61st Street and where it comes down here to 59th Street. And I'm sorry, to 60th Street. So we're going to annex this, clean the area up, make some water amenities around Town Fork Creek, and make this accessible to the community on 60th Street here. And then you'll also have an access point from 61st here. And this will also be a plateaued area, whether it's a dog park or, just a community park as well. We're going to look to redevelop that site area as part of our contribution to the community as well. Now, what we're going to do on this project is we're really phasing this in. So the first phase of the project is going to include the hotel building, the multifamily building, and it was originally going to include office and parking. But now what we're doing is we're shrinking down phase one, because that office building, we're going to actually add into a phase two, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But our phase one is going to include the hotel, the multifamily, and then the parking side here. Phase two will include everything along 63rd Street, which, as I'm sure you all know, is under redevelopment as a street itself. And then the third phase will include these parcels here for the self-storage and the repositioning of the gas station. Part of the reason why we've moved this building into phase two, along with these other buildings, is that office demand really has changed since the pandemic. We're now doing this phone call via Zoom, and a lot of office folks are using Zoom as opposed to actually occupying office space. And you'll see that in the downtown areas, not only of Kansas City, but every major metropolitan in the United States. So because of that, we wanted to take additional time to look and talk with the community about what needs to happen with these buildings along 63rd Street. We are still looking at the grocery store. In fact, we've been in active discussions with several operators of that, but we want the time to make sure that we're doing what's most important to the community and to us as a developer for these other buildings. So we will talk about that as we move forward. So effectively what I've stated is that in phase one, we're right-sizing the building and using 222 apartments and 18 townhomes. The 114 key or room extended stay hotel will stay the same. Then we're going to relook at phase two, as I just discussed, and see how we can repurpose the upper floors of those buildings. And then 3 and 4 is combined, and we'll be looking to do that upon completion of phase two. So effectively, these are just some perspectives of what the aerials will look like when this project is said and done. And if I can, I'm going to just expand that a little bit so that you all have some perspective. This would be 63rd Street going west. This would be Prospect Avenue coming north. And all of this area in here is what would be infilled with our development program, which will be about 1 million square feet when it's said and done. This again gives a perspective. Again, 63rd Street going from west, circling east. These are again 3-story buildings. Here's the grocery store. And these are just meant to, again, give you a little bit of aerial perspective as to what the project will look like when it's said and done. One key question that I've had has to do with the existing homes that are there. I want to make sure everybody's clear. We are not looking to buy, demolish, redevelop, displace anything with any existing homeowners in the current marketplace. The area that we're talking about redeveloping is on the land that is currently vacant. So I know one of the questions that I had was, are you looking to buy my home? Are you looking to displace us? Absolutely not. We are invited guests into your community, and we're looking to enhance your experience, certainly not to displace, okay? Again, these are just some different aerial perspectives of what the project will look like. This is kind of a conceptual plan of the hotel, just by way of perspective. This would be if you're coming up Prospect Avenue, this would be at 62nd Street. So the hotel is really going to be a 4-story extended stay hotel. We already have the flag. It'll be an Everhome, which is part of the Choice brand. And again, an extended stay effectively is to help provide a space for visitors of the hospital as their loved ones are getting transplants and dealing with oncology and those things. The rooms are a little larger, so if you're staying for a week or 10 days, you have the ability to buy groceries and cook as opposed to eating out all the time. That's the difference between an extended stay and a non-extended stay hotel. And what you're looking at here is just some perspectives of what the hotel will kind of look like from a street standpoint. It's a 4-story building. You'll have some signage here. This is really the east elevation as you're looking from Prospect Avenue towards Bruce Watkins. This is really what the building would look like. And then if you were looking from Highway 71 I'm sorry, this would be the west elevation. So you would be looking at it from Bruce Watkins Parkway to the west. And then these are just north and south elevations that you would look at for the building. There's a variety of different building materials that we would be using, and this is just meant to kind of show what those look like. And this is kind of a design perspective, what the multifamily building originally looked like. We've changed that around a little bit, as I'd indicated, because we've run into some limestone. So this is kind of what the new elevation looks like at the apartment building level. So the apartment building is still going to stand as a 4-story building. What we're doing here, again, this is looking east at the building. So this would be from Park Avenue kind of coming in. Because of the way that the land slopes, we're actually going to have to build up a bit of a retention wall, and we have some greening material. So you're not going to look just at an ephes retaining wall or concrete cinder blocks. We want to make sure that we're doing all of these buildings so that it's something that's attractive to look at from the neighbor's perspective. And then this is the building as you're looking west. Oops. Then this is something new that we wanted to share with you. This is really kind of an elevation of what the townhomes will look like along Prospect Avenue. This is going to change slightly because we think that we're probably not going to do a freestanding building, but rather these may be 4 buildings and separated by a little bit of a walkway so that you just break up the overall structures of the building. But this just kind of gives you a little bit of the step down elevation. Because of the slope of Prospect Avenue at that point, I'm sure you all know that there's a little bit of a hill. We're not putting up a straight building. These are all meant to be separate. So you see a bit of a step down with these buildings, but each one of these will be a 3-story townhome. They're apartments, but they'll each have their own separate entrance on this side. And then on the Prospect Avenue, on the west side of Prospect, they'll each have their own parking space. So you'll be able to access them from each side of the building. And then again, they're 3-story buildings that you'll see from the perspective, both from the north looking south and the south looking north. And again, the one thing that I wanted to mention is we're not looking to have all standard buildings. We do want to break up how those buildings look. So we're using a variety of complementary building materials here, just so that you have some different looks for what these projects and these buildings will look like. And then just to continue on, when we do ultimately building D on the corner of 63rd and Prospect, which will have all the new transportation hubs there. This is what we envision from a scale standpoint. We'll have some ground floor retail. And then the upper floors may be office, they may be additional multifamily, but this just kind of gives the scale of what 63rd and Prospect will look like. This would be some of the retail restaurants that we plan again on Prospect Avenue. So these would be just south of the hotel. And we've had some pretty brisk activity from tenants that want to come in here. Both national sit-down restaurants, some coffee shops have expressed interest. So we are moving forward to bring those in. Again, everything is there to help complement what this development is. And then really what our timeline is. And I think this is an important one because it's a question that we get all the time. When are we looking to finally start on construction? So our objective is that we'll be starting with shovels in the ground late fourth quarter, but most likely right after the new year, which would be the first quarter of 2024. And we'll be starting on the two buildings, the apartment building and the multifamily building. And those will be starting almost simultaneously. They're two separate developments, so there may be a few weeks in between them, but we're really looking to start and knock out both projects at the same time. We are planning on having those both done within 24 months from the start of construction. But our objective is to have those buildings done and completed within 18 months of each other. And then there will be soft openings, some punch out, landscaping, construction cleanup, all of those things that are necessary. So I've got that within 24 months, but our construction schedule calls for these things to be done within 15 to 18 months of the start of construction. Phase two, we will start at what we call substantial completion of phase one, and that'll be done within 5 years of the start of this. So 3 years after we complete this project, and 3 and 4 within 8 years. So the entire project should be done by the year 2032. Everything, all 1 million square feet, should be done within that time frame. Our objective certainly is to get that done sooner than that, but by definition of our agreement with the city, we've agreed to have the entire project done within that time frame. And that really is kind of my presentation to the community. What I wanted to do was to have the opportunity to ask you for your input, certainly field any questions, and find out if there's anything that we can address that I may not have done in this project. So with that, I'm going to reduce this. And Anna, I'm going to turn off my share, but I may come back to it as there are questions because I do want to make sure that I'm able to see what these look like. So with that, that's kind of my presentation to the community. So let's open it up for questions and see if there's anybody who has any or comments or anything that we should be addressing as part of our development efforts.
So you said you won't be purchasing any properties and people can stay in place. Jaime, the guy that I'm working with now, he has a property on 61st and Park, and there's 2 lots next to it. How will he know if you're interested in those lots that are next to his house?
Well, we certainly, he can feel free to reach out to us. I mean, we are in the real estate development business. So purchasing and redeveloping is what it is that we do. What I wanted to make sure you know is that we're not doing any eminent domain. We're not looking to take people's houses. We're not looking to displace them as part of this process. But we're developers. We take advantage of opportunities. So if he's interested, my telephone number should be on the information that we sent out. I believe Anna's is as well. If there's an interest in selling, we certainly are interested in having that conversation.
Okay, very good.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
So I also have another question kind of on the same lines, but so as you talk about the development of the hotel and development of spaces that are on the east side of Prospect, right before the highway. So there is a cosmetology school there. Or is the plan to move them into this new retail space, or will that business basically have to be moved once again due to development?
The cosmetology school is north of 63rd Street. Is that the building, the old FECCC building? The
Yes.
FEC building? Yeah, our project is south of that building. So that building stays in place. We're building directly south of it. So there won't be any relocation of that building. That building stays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let me make sure I'm just kind of getting so then that row of community, like there's a small community apartment homes, like directly across from that space, you're saying that will remain?
Those that are up on the hill, you mean?
Yeah,
That sit up?
yeah.
Yeah, those are privately owned. So we would love to have the opportunity to redevelop those. But that will depend on whether or not we can come to agreement with the property owners, and we haven't started those negotiations at this point. Those are considered in our phase 3. If you remember where I had the self-storage, it would be on that site, but that only is if we can, in fact, come to an agreement with the seller or with the owner. I can't call him a seller because I don't believe that those parcels are for sale. But we certainly will make an offer and attempt to do some redevelopment up there. But that really will depend on whether or not that we can have those conversations at some point going down the road.
Okay, I have one final question. So just
Sure.
thinking about the family units that will be developed, how are we addressing affordable housing in these
Sure.
particular communities?
It's a great question. These properties, these apartments are being developed as what we call workforce housing, which are housing units that will be affordable for teachers and firefighters and policemen and those sorts of folks that generally, it's too expensive to move into a brand new development in downtown or in the Power and Light District. So we're making these units purposely that can be afforded. I want to hesitate in calling them affordable because that's a certain segment. These will be houses that will be targeted towards the workforce community, and they certainly will be 1 and 2 bedroom units that are priced such that folks will be able to move in and feel comfortable and have enough discretionary income to be able to take advantage of some of the other things that are in the marketplace. The worst thing we can do as redevelopers is to come in, develop multifamily housing, put them at price points where people can move in, but can't afford to support the other tenants that are coming into the marketplace. Then we as master developers have failed doing an overall community that makes sense. So part of the reason why there's been a bit of a delay in terms of us starting is because we're looking to stack the capital for that multifamily project such that we can offer those apartment units at a price point that's affordable to the community. And that takes us getting some public support for this project from, the cost of building materials. I'm sure you all have seen that inflation has really gripped the United States. That hasn't bypassed lumber and steel and the cost of bathroom accessories and those things. So the costs of building a project like this have continued to go up, even though incomes haven't. So that delta, that difference has widened. We've had to take the time to make sure that we have enough public support to be able to ensure that we're able to offer those apartments at price points that are affordable to the community. We don't want to gentrify the neighborhood. We're not looking to bring in, folks that will price other folks in the community out. We want to make sure that these remain affordable to the workforce in the community.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have another question in the chat. Will the current trees remain as continued quiet enjoyment and privacy to the existing homeowners? The
Mhm.
boundaries, west side of Park Avenue and 62nd Street and south side of 63rd Street between Brooklyn Avenue and Park.
Great question. Last year, about 18 months ago, I guess, we ended up taking down the bulk of the trees that we needed to take down in that community to ensure that we could do the development that's necessary. We don't plan on any other bulk tree or plant removal. There may be some, but if in fact we take those down, we are looking to replant. So the removal of the trees that we did last year is the lion's share of what that looks like. Now, there may be a place where a tree is dead. There may be a place where we're putting up a retaining wall and have to take down some trees. But if in fact we take those down, we are going to be replacing those. So our objective is not to remove. In fact, we are green developers. So we want to encourage that greening of this community. We're not looking to take it out and replace it with concrete and those things. Quiet enjoyment is very important to the community that's there. And we want to do everything that we can to ensure that remains.
Okay, I put our details in the chat as well.
Okay.
You're welcome, Chandra. Any other questions?
Okay. Well, listen, we are available. Anna, myself, Richmond McCoy. I see our other partner, V. Weiser Dixon, is on the line. So, hey, V. Weiser, who's local. Our emails, our telephone numbers, we are available to talk. If you have any questions, any comments that come up, please reach out to us. We're very excited about finally having the opportunity to move the project forward. You should start to see some activity picking up here over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll have yellow iron, the big construction equipment out there here in short order. And let's get this project finally moving. This neighborhood has deserved it for several decades, and we're just pleased that we're now finally at a point where we're ready to start moving dirt. So should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule today. And we look forward to coming out to Kansas City and getting some projects done, eating some good barbecue. And I'll be waving my terrible towel from my Pittsburgh Steelers the next time I come out there.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.